So a quick video about caffeine. Right, caffeine, the enemy, or not. Depends on your opinion. So I just wanted to talk about this quickly because recently I did a caffeine fast. I completely stopped it. It was fine the whole time that I wasn't working. I didn't have my job. This was pre-job, so I was a bit more flexible with getting up because, as I've talked about before, I really struggle with mornings with my ME. So when I could get up of my own accord and go about my day and go about my things on my schedule, on my terms, I didn't have a problem not drinking caffeine. It was fine. I think I had like the odd headache here and there, but I get headaches and migraines anyway, so I don't even know if that was related to caffeine or hormones or whatever. However, what I did notice as soon as I started working and I was having to deal with those mornings, like be in for 8:30 and I have a 40-minute walk to work, so was having to get up pre 7 o'clock kind of thing. That's really difficult for me. And what I noticed was I was getting these awful headaches, like migraines and stuff, to the point where I couldn't function. I was drinking water, I was drinking herbal tea, ginger and lemon, and I was making sure I had my electrolytes and all that kind of thing. So I was doing all the self-care stuff that I should for that particular situation, but I just couldn't get over these headaches and it was really affecting me. It meant sometimes I was having to go home early and I was having to like sit in my reading chair and take not a nap, but resting my eyes, doing some mindfulness, because I was just really not able to focus or concentrate with these awful headaches. And then one day I just the water machine wasn't working and I was like, well, I can't really just not drink anything. I've got this awful headache. It's a bit too hot to have just herbal tea. So I went out and instead of buying a bottle of water, because I was like, oh, I'm a bit resentful about paying for water, I treated myself in inverted commas to a Pepsi Max. And this awful headache that I had within about 20 minutes of drinking my Pepsi Max disappeared. So from then on I was like, okay, so my body's not quite as tolerant of me quitting caffeine as I thought it was. It was okay when it was on my terms, but now that I was pushing my body to get up in the morning before it was ready, and I think that was affecting cortisol and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole nother video in itself. I had this issue with caffeine. So yeah, I do drink Pepsi Max a lot. So at the moment, on average, I will get up and I will have a cup of tea before I go into work. Then I will get to work and I'll have another cup of tea. So that has caffeine in it, but not very much. Tea's got hardly any caffeine compared to coffee. And then I will have my Pepsi Max, and I'll probably have like a litres worth of Pepsi Max, to get me through the day at work kind of thing. Because I am, a lot of people probably think, oh, that's really bad, which, yeah, it's not great, but it's either that or I don't have any mental capacity to work. So I've made that choice to, I can't really afford to not be able to do my job, so I'm going down the caffeine route. I am going to try and wean myself off it during this sort of annual leave week. So far today I've had 2 330ml cans of Pepsi Max. That's been my caffeine intake for the day. I have a headache, but I think that's from other reasons. I have basically drank a pint of water today. So yeah, I'll see how this goes with trying to reduce the caffeine. But then, on one hand, people say, oh, caffeine is not good for you because it can mess up with your cortisol and cause you to not be able to sleep. And I'd just like to say caffeine doesn't affect my sleep. When I've quit caffeine recently, I've quit it before, and it has no impact on whether I fall asleep or not, or the quality of my sleep. that's just not a factor. So I'm not concerned about the caffeine for the sleep reasons. I am concerned for the cortisol reasons. So that's why I've been trying to reduce it. However, then, you know, when you're looking at fat burners and things like that, you're looking at performance, caffeine doping or whatever people want to call it. People say have caffeine, and do you know, I do that. I have a really big dose of caffeine before I go and do a workout because, and I do notice if I don't have my green tea extract supplement and my cup of tea or Pepsi Max, whatever, before I go and do a workout, I am not as on it, not as strong, not as fast, I don't have as much stamina. You know, caffeine really does affect my performance. So that's something to take into consideration. However, I think the cortisol levels trump that, so I'm planning to just kind of gradually try and wean myself off of caffeine completely. We'll see how that goes. To be honest, I don't want to give up tea, so I don't think I'll extend it to being completely caffeine free. I've tried decaf tea, it's just not the same. I have decaf tea to have before I go to bed and stuff, and just, yeah, it doesn't cut it. But yeah, that's another thing to consider is, you know, if your cortisol levels are all up the creek and stuff, is it worth trying to at least wean yourself down? I mean, some people might argue that, well, you know, it's like with smoking, if you smoke, you smoke. It doesn't matter how many you smoke, you're still smoking. But I mean, I don't agree with that in this particular instance. I think when it comes to things like caffeine, actually, if you can at least just cut it down, maybe just have some tea in the morning or something, perhaps, you know, that will be a bit more helpful for you. I'll see how it goes with me and report in on this. Thank you for listening.